Basui and welcome to my YouTube channel, Not for the Faint Crafted. I hope you're all well and staying safe during this time. So today I'm going to teach you how to convert a standard cardboard box into this beautiful 3-tiered dollhouse with cardboard furniture as well. And would you believe it or not, this was made from the one cardboard box itself, and there was a small piece of cardboard that came with it that I used as well. So you don't really need that much cardboard for this DIY craft. And if you're a parent trying to figure out fun crafts to do with your little ones, hopefully this is the perfect video for you. So I wanted to create a dollhouse because this reminded me of one of my favourite childhood memories, and that was when my parents gifted me a beautiful dollhouse when I was an 8-year-old girl for my birthday, and I was obsessed with it, and that's something that I can look back on so fondly and remember. And so can you even imagine if you're making a dollhouse or crafting with your little kids, hopefully this is a memory that they can keep with them for a lifetime. But yeah, given that this craft was inspired by one of my favourite childhood toys, I want to know, what was your favourite childhood toy? And it could be more than one. I actually have 3 and I'll mention them right at the very end of this video if you want to hang around for that. This video is actually one of my slightly longer videos, and so I would recommend watching this all in one go, just so you have a feel for how the dollhouse is made, how the furniture is made. But I've also left some shortcuts below where it splits this into 2, so you first learn about the construction of the dollhouse, and then the second part is where you learn about how to make the furniture with 2 different methods. But yeah, I hope you do like this video, and if you do, please do give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not a subscriber already, please don't forget to click that subscribe button and that little bell notification on the bottom. That basically means whenever I post a video, it should appear on your YouTube feed, and it also helps with YouTube's algorithm, so hopefully other parents out there who are looking for craft ideas are more likely to see this video. But anyway, I'll head straight to the tutorial and I'll see you at the very end. So to make the dollhouse itself, you will need a cardboard box, some scissors, some tape, a pencil and a ruler, some wrapping paper, a craft knife, some glue, some paint and a paintbrush, and also colouring pens. However, it's really the first 4 items that are essential. Anything outside of that is completely optional. So firstly, taking your plain box, all you want to do is first remove any labels and any sellotape from it. So next I'm going to draw a grid on the box. So what I'm going to first do is measure the length of the box, which was around 30 centimetres, divide this by 2 and then draw a line from the bottom of that box all the way to the top, including the flap. And then next I'm going to measure the height of the box, excluding both flaps at the end of the box, and that came up to 57 centimetres. And then what I'm going to do is divide this by 3 and then draw 2 lines in the middle of that box, so I should end up with a grid of 6 squares. And the reason why I was drawing a grid was mainly because of 2 reasons. So one, I'm quite nitpicky, so when I wanted to draw the doors and the windows, I wanted to make sure they were quite evenly spread out. And then another reason why, and I guess the main reason why you want to measure the height and divide it by 3 is that if you're going to cut out the windows, you want to make sure that when you put in the individual floors and the inside of the box, that it doesn't overlap with the windows, and that's the main reason why I measured the height and divided this by 3. So once that grid was drawn, I first started drawing the door on the box, which was evenly positioned, but before I started drawing each of the individual windows, I did find that the grid was still a little bit too big for me to use as a guideline. So what I did was I just made the grid look a little bit smaller, and when I was drawing each of the windows, I even included a semicircle on the top to make it stand out. But I did realise that the size of the windows that I had initially drawn looked just as big as the door, so it did look a bit silly, so I just trimmed off the bottom of each of those windows so that it ended up looking something like this. And next I drew a circle in the centre of that top flap. So actually drawing out those smaller grid lines proved really helpful, because when I wanted to draw the window frames, I could use this as a guideline. So to do this, I just drew smaller squares and rectangles in each of those individual window segments. And I also used a ruler because I found that this was more helpful when compared to drawing it freehand. And then I did the same with the circular window on the top as well. And once I'd drawn all of that, I then started using a craft knife to cut out each of those individual segments on those 4 windows, as well as the circular window on the top, so it ended up looking something like this. And once that's done, it's time to now remove the whole back end of your box. And to do this, you'll need to cut this out, but be sure not to throw this away because you will need to use this later on when you're creating your furniture. And just a helpful tip that I found when I was cutting this box out, because my box was really strong and sturdy, is using strong scissors is really important. But also I found that when I was cutting this flat, it was really difficult to cut, but when I was cutting this folded, following that natural groove line of the box, it was so much easier. So if you find that, hopefully that should help. So once that's done, your house should start forming its natural shape, but what you want to do is first take those two outer flaps on the very top of your box and fold them into an arch-like shape, and then using a pencil you just want to stencil those guidelines and cut these out using scissors. But remember, don't throw out any cut out pieces because you might want to use it later on. And the whole purpose of this is so that when you eventually sellotape those two flaps onto the center flap, it should form a roof-like shape. So what you want to do now is take your box and lay it completely flat with the inside of the box facing you, and also remove any excess cardboard bits you may have, as that's not needed. And then next, with a ruler and a pencil, if you remember earlier when we measured the height of the box excluding the outer flaps, you want to do that again and then divide this by 3 and then draw 2 horizontal lines from one side of the box all the way through to the other. And if you had measured it correctly first time round, these two individual lines shouldn't overlap with any of your windows, and then that will create the look of 3 individual floors. So this part's optional, but if you want to include the wallpaper look, you'll need 3 different types of wrapping paper. But before you stick this on, you want to measure the height and the length of each individual floor and each section of your box, and then you want to transfer these dimensions onto your wrapping paper, cut these out, so it should end up looking something like this. And then next you want to glue your wrapping paper onto the inside of your box. So I only had PVA glue at hand, so I used a bit of PVA glue and water to stick this down. But if you have any other type of glue, that should still be fine. And then once you've covered all individual floors, it should look something like this. Once that dried, I just took some sellotape and taped the bottom of the box just so that the house could start forming its shape. So when it came to painting the house, I thought I could repurpose some old house paint, but this just didn't end up looking right. So I scrapped this idea and then ended up repainting this with acrylic paints. But I didn't actually have a baby pink colour, so I just blended a mix of rose pink with white paint to get this effect. And once that had dried, I then painted the door using the rose pink paint, painted the window frames, the door frame in the white paint, and then I also painted a small little heart in between the top 2 windows just to make it look cute. And again with that white paint, I just painted the semicircles on the top, which I'll then later design and draw on. And once that had dried, I decided to paint the roof using grey acrylic paint. And once your dollhouse is completely dry, you then just want to take some Sharpie pens or felt tip pens, and just to make the features stand out on your dollhouse, you just want to draw borders around them. So I just did this around the semicircles, the window frame, the heart and the door. And with a silver marker, I just added some additional features to the door and the semicircles above the window just to help it stand out. And to add some detail to the roof, I just drew a continuous U shape using a black Sharpie pen on both sides, and it ended up looking something like this. And finally, once that's done, you can sellotape your roof together and your house should look something like this. So originally I used a craft knife to cut out the windows because my whole purpose was to then cut out the windows again once I had glued on that wrapping paper. However, the colours that came through from that wrapping paper looked really nice, so I just left this in the end and didn't cut it out. So to make the furniture, I actually used 2 methods, but for this you will need any remainder cardboard that you have left over, some scissors, tape, a pencil and a ruler, some magazine cutouts, PVA glue, some kitchen tissue roll, some paint and paintbrush, as well as some colouring pens, and I also used some adhesive paper to cover the kitchen floor, but this is completely optional as well. So moving on to the interior, what I did was I actually filmed this prior to painting the dollhouse, and what I did was I measured the depth and the length of the dollhouse, and I transferred these dimensions twice onto that remainder piece of cardboard that I had kept from earlier. And then once that was done, I cut these out using scissors and then slotted this into the dollhouse, just testing to see whether they would fit in nicely, which it did. And once that was done, what I wanted to do is create the illusion of wood flooring. So what I did was I took my brown Sharpie pen and the ruler, and then I started drawing horizontal lines and then mismatched vertical lines. And then to kind of give it that wood effect, I basically, again, using that brown Sharpie, just squiggled some designs and made these vary in different sizes. And they kind of look similar to a paperclip design. So you just want to do this on every single plank, and then your two floorings should look something like this. Once that's done, you just want to tape these in, and then I also had a remainder piece of cardboard left, which was just the flap from the previous side. So I just stuck this in so that it separates the third floor and the attic as well. For the kitchen floor, I just stuck some white adhesive paper, again using those same dimensions that I measured earlier. So yeah, moving on to the furniture. So there's two ways that you can make furniture that I'm going to show you. So the first way is probably the quickest way, and if you have any magazines lying around, what you can do is you can cut out pieces of furniture that you see on there, stick these on any remainder pieces of cardboard that you have left, and then try to stick another layer so it can either hold up the furniture, or if you just want it to have a bit of depth, you can just stick it at the back. Once you've done all of that, your furniture should look something like this. So if you want a bit of control with your furniture, you can create these from scratch using the remainder pieces of cardboard that you have left. So what I did was I created an L shape, so that could be the furniture that goes into the kitchen, acting as the fridge and the kitchen countertop. And then once I did that, I then sellotaped this together to hold it in place, and then using small tissue cutouts and PVA glue and water, I then paper mache this so that I just gave it a bit of texture. And then once that was done and dried, using a pencil and a ruler, I just stenciled out roughly what the fridge would look like and what the oven would look like and the cupboards and so forth. And then once that was done, I was ready to start painting this. So just to go with the theme of the wallpaper that was in the kitchen, I just used a teal paint to paint the cupboards and around the fridge, and then kind of added a bit more detail using white paint and black paint. And then similar to what I did with the dollhouse, I just used some Sharpie pens and some markers just to accentuate some of those features and really make it stand out. And then it ended up looking something like this, which I'm really pleased with. And so once that's done, you basically want to repeat the same process for any other furniture you want to make. So for the bed, I used 5 pieces of cut out cardboard, and I made sure that the 2 side pieces matched in terms of size, and then the bottom piece also matched in terms of the length of that bed base. And then I just basically taped these together, and then that top piece, you want to make sure that the length of it mirrors the base of your bed, but it's slightly bigger, so that when you sellotape this in place, it will look like a headboard. And then once that's done, you just want to leave it to the side. So to make the table, it's a lot easier. You just need 3 pieces of cardboard cutouts, with one being a lot bigger than the other 2, and the other 2 need to match in size. And then all you need to do using some sellotape is tape the 2 smaller pieces at the back of your cardboard, so it then appears and creates the illusion of table legs. So to make your cardboard sofa, you need to have 5 pieces of cutout initially, and then what you want to do using some sellotape is tape these in place so that it's starting to form that sofa shape. And with some smaller square cutouts, so you only want 3 of these, you want to also sellotape these onto that base of that sofa, just so it creates that illusion of cushions. And once you've done that, all you need to do is paper mache all the furniture that you've created, paint this however you want, using whatever colours you want, and hopefully it should look something similar to this. Hey guys, so I hope you liked that DIY video. If you did, please do give this video a big thumbs up, and if you're not a subscriber already, please don't forget to click that subscribe button and the little bell notification on the bottom. But yeah, if you missed out on the question that I asked before, because this craft was inspired by one of my favourite childhood toys, the one thing I want to know from you is, what was your favourite childhood toy? So I actually have 3. So I'd say the very first earliest memory is when I asked from Santa if I could have Lego. and I really wanted, and it wasn't just any old Lego, I was so obsessed, and I don't know where I got this idea from, but I really wanted to make a telephone out of Lego, and I wanted to make sure I had all the right pieces to make a telephone. And so when I got it for Christmas, I just thought, oh my god, I didn't even know this was possible, that you could actually make a telephone out of Lego. And when I got it, I was just like so happy, and like I was so ecstatic, and that I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like dreams really do come true. And then I'll say the second one. So this wasn't a gift from Santa, but it was a gift from like my mum. And I remember, so I was a child that also was very, like, I enjoyed the process of unwrapping gifts. I didn't mind what was in there as long as I got like to unwrap it. That was probably more exciting for me on the day. And my mum came back from work one day and she was like, oh, my friend gave me a gift, do you want to unwrap it? And I was like, yes. So then when I unwrapped it, there was a Nintendo Game Boy in it, and I asked my mum, and I was like, oh, why did your friend give you a Game Boy? That's a nice gift. And then she was like, no, it's for you. And then I remember, I was like, oh my god, I never even asked for it. But I think when I think about it now, I remember my brother got a Nintendo Game Boy the year before, and I think my mum and dad must have thought, there's no way I can give like our son a Game Boy and then my daughter like a colouring book and some colouring pens. So she surprised me with that, and I was obsessed with it. And my first ever Game Boy game was the Super Mario game, and I managed to work my way up to finish the whole game. So I still have it, and it's at my parents' house, so I wonder if I can actually finish it the way I was able to as a kid. I hope I still have it in me, but after this quarantine's all over, I might go back home and give it a go. And then the third one is what this video was inspired on, which was that dollhouse. So this was actually a birthday gift that I got. When I got this birthday gift, I didn't even ask for a dollhouse. And all the dollhouses that I saw were kind of like what I saw in the films or like magazines, or like these wooden dollhouses. And then when I got it, it was this amazing dollhouse. It opened up into 3 massive rooms, and even it had like a little electric light to turn on the table lamp, and the bed would flip over and turn into a bathtub, and I was completely obsessed with it as a kid. So that's something that I look back on. So that's it from me really. But yeah, I hope you do like this video, and I'll see you next week. Take care, bye.